Hi everyone, my name is Alexis, I'm 36, I'm French obviously. I lived in Scotland for a while, for 8 years, before coming back to France. Well, today I just wanted to share with you my story as a Jehovah's Witness. So I was kind of raised in the truth. My parents met the witnesses when I was about 3 or 4, and they studied with them for about 5 years. And then the elders learned that my dad used to beat my mom. So that was the atmosphere at home, very violent all the time, a lot of alcohol. But anyways, so the elders got to know that, and one day a couple of them came to our house and came to speak with my dad. So as such, it's kind of okay, except they didn't do it the right way. So as you can imagine, when you talk to a violent person and you tell him to stop being violent, it doesn't work. It was actually the worst ever crisis we had at home. He kind of broke everything, and he beat my mom even harder. It was horrible. So from that day, they stopped going to the meetings, but my mom continued to raise us as Jehovah's Witnesses. She continued to teach us the doctrines, all the teachings of the Jehovah's Witnesses. She continued praying with us every night. We kept reading the Yellow Book, the Bible Stories book, together. So after a while, I was about 15. I left home. I went in a special house for sick kids because I had bad asthma at the time. So I went away for a year and a half. And when I came back, I had a real deep spiritual need. I was about 17 at the time, and I was really in search of God. So I had taken my Bible with me over there, but I never actually opened it. I loved it, but as a book, I mean, as some kind of superstition, And I also kept praying. So I don't think I ever missed praying God, never. So I still had some kind of relationship with God, but I needed something more. And so after I came home, there was a couple of witnesses who still came to our house to give us the magazines. In particular, an elder. And one day he came to our house to give us the magazines, and I was there. So I went to see him, and he said, maybe it's time for you to start thinking seriously about those things, and you might want to start a study. And because I was in such a need for spiritual things, and I was actually reading the reasoning book at home, believe it or not, I don't know why. So I started a study with him. After a while, you know how things work. Well, at the time, I think I should specify that my dad was really very, very opposed to us. So it was me, my sister, and my mom. We were studying with that elder, and my dad was very opposed to that. And although he had stopped beating my mom because of an incident that happened at home, I stabbed him in the back. So that's why he stopped beating my mom. But still, it was very tense at home at the time. Very complicated time. So we were studying, and after a while, you know how it works. I wanted to become a publisher, an unbaptized publisher. And so the first time I asked to become a publisher, I told my Bible study overseer. And the way I asked it didn't work for him. So I asked something like, would it be possible to go preaching in the field service? But because I had absolutely no self-confidence, I said something like, even, just for trying, I just want to try. And to him, that was like a huge mistake. And he told me that I should go home and strengthen my faith. So I was very, very disappointed. And it was, I think, the first time I had this kind of experience in the organization. Well, that didn't stop me anyway, so I continued studying, and after a while, a few months I think, I asked again to become a publisher. So that time I did a kind of interview, I don't know how they call that. They ask you if you have if your life has changed, if you drink, or if you at least if you understand, the basics of what Jehovah's Witnesses teach. So everything went pretty well, but on the night of the memorial that year, an elder, my Bible study overseer came to see me and told me that I was not accepted as a publisher. So the reason he gave me is that I had missed too many meetings, and it's true that at the time I had missed a few meetings because I was studying, I was in high school, and I'm not sure how it works in English-speaking countries, but in France, you get kind of overwhelmed at times with homework. And that was my case. I had a lot of homework, and I used to study until 2 in the morning, and I missed a few meetings. So I was refused at the time. I didn't actually pass the interview. After a while, I asked again if I could become a publisher, and this time I was finally accepted. So I was like happy, very excited to be able to go in the field ministry and everything. Anyways, after some time, so that was 3 years after I had started my study, I asked to get baptized. So I was baptized in 2001. And it's actually funny because the same day my family and we were interviewed at the assembly, because they were looking, for families where in a monoparental families in the truth, like one parent is a witness and the other one isn't. So my mom talked about raising us in the truth despite my dad being opposed. And the funny thing is that my dad was actually there that day. He came for a baptism, so he heard all of that, and I'm not sure that was very nice for him, So that was in 2001. I was baptized, and everything went well. I started having, responsibilities in the congregation. Well, responsibilities. I was passing the mics. I took care of the magazines as well. So little things, but you know how it is. You're very happy when you get to do these kind of things in the congregation. And in 2002, I fell in love with a sister in the congregation. So when I told the elder, of course we started courting, dating, whatever. And so I told the elder who I was studying with. I was still studying, I think, at that time, even after my baptism. And he said, yeah, she's a good sister, she's got a good reputation and everything. So, you're at the right age, you're 21, so that's fine. So everything was good, and we started courting, and after a while I realized that some things were wrong with her, and actually she was a liar, and she was a compulsive liar, lying to me all the time. I didn't know that at first. I knew that only after we broke up, but she had a boyfriend, a worldly boyfriend, at the same time as we were courting, so pretty bad. So there were a lot of reasons why we ended up breaking up 1 year later, and it actually did a lot of bad. The congregation got completely torn into two sides at the time, because we had problems. Our families were always arguing. There were big problems. She was accusing her family to be beating her up, to be violent towards her. She had other sisters, and she said the mom and her sisters were violent towards her. But to other people, she used to say we were the bad ones. So yeah, the congregation was split into two sides, and it was really a real mess at the time. And the brothers blamed me for the situation because I was the only brother in both our families. That wasn't a nice time. It completely destroyed me at the time. I was really low, I was not good. Whilst I was courting that sister, maybe a bit before actually, I had created a forum for young witnesses. It was called JTJ, and it worked pretty well. I made a lot of friends through that website. I'm an introvert, so making friends has never been easy for me. So that was a good way for me to meet other young Jehovah's Witnesses and make friends. And that's where I actually met my wife. That wasn't the point of the site, but just a nice thing that happened. I met my wife there, and so yeah, after I broke up with the sister, I started having problems because of that website. It's about the same time as there was very a big emphasis on the dangers of the internet in publications in a kingdom, how's it called? Kingdom ministry. So one day, two elders met with me in the secondary room, in the back room, at the Kingdom Hall, and they say, we've been watching you, we've been watching what you're doing with your website, and it's gone wrong. And what happened at the time is that they had said in the Kingdom Halls that a big announcement would be made. And so everybody started speculating, and some on the website started saying that they were going to say that Armageddon's coming and this kind of stuff. So that didn't please the elders, and they were actually pretty mean to me that day, very harsh. And they told me that I had a meeting scheduled with the district and how do you call that? Circumscription overseers at the next assembly. So I think 1 or 2 weeks passed. So I was very nervous, of course. It's not this kind of things you do every day in the organization. It's very serious when you get to meet the district overseers and everything. So I met with them, and it was kind of okay. They were pretty nice with me. Well, they told me to close the site down, but they said it wasn't a good idea, that I shouldn't have started it. But when I told them I was ready to close it, because I was a good little obedient witness, so I just closed it. I just was willing to close it. I had no issue with that at all. I was ready to follow the orders I was given. So and everything went fine. So I went home, I shut it down, and that's it. I thought that was finished. That was the end of it. But a week later, I met with the elders again. So they wanted to know how it went. So I told them. They were actually pretty nice, that it went well, and I don't know why I did it, because I was a little, nice little obedient witness, but I felt the need to tell them that they had been very harsh to me at the first meeting. So I told them, and oh my God, all hell broke loose. They started, one of them, the congregation overseer, was actually so angry. His face was red and sweating, and he started shouting at me. And I was trying to explain what was happening, that I had closed the site down, that I did as I was told. But didn't cut it for him. And to him, I was trying to justify myself. So at one point, because I was trying to explain what happened, he told me that I should shut up and obey. And that's literally what he told me, and that's a little sentence I can still remember as if it was yesterday, and it was about 15 years ago. But yeah, I saw the other side, of the coin. I understood what was going on, I had seen a lot when I was courting the sister before, but that was like, that was terrible. That showed me what elders were really about. What I didn't tell you is that after I broke up with the other sister, I started dating another sister online, well, chatting with her online, and that was about at the same time, and I kind of slowed down the meetings. I started missing a lot of meetings at the time. But yeah, I was madly in love with that girl now that I had never met. So I'm gonna skip a few things now because I don't see the point in going into the details. But after a while, with that sister, things got serious and we got married. So I moved to Quebec in Canada. And we got married, and everything was fine. And I was in a great congregation. People were really nice and very supportive, completely different at my old congregation in France, which was horrible, full of cliques, and people were always talking about each other, and it was pretty cool. So it was good, and I was starting to make my way back into, as a real witness. I wanted to go preaching again. I was an auxiliary pioneer for a while, and yeah, I was really into it at that time. But then we had issues with the immigration process, so we ended up having to move to France. Well, we took the decision to move to France, and when we came back into my hometown. So we did everything we could to avoid going back into my old congregation. So for a while we went to another congregation, and it was okay, it went well, but the congregations locally were restructured, which didn't surprise me at all at the time because I knew there was a lot of problems. And at the end of the day, we ended up in the same old congregation, so with the same kind of people, except the overseer of the body of elders. How do you say that? The overseer of the body of elders, with whom I had so many problems before. I won't go into the details either because there's so much I could say about him, but he had moved to another congregation, so that was the good point. But otherwise, it was pretty much the same congregation. So, what happened is that we started missing meetings with my wife, and we were a bit tired by the congregation, and all those memories there. That wasn't good for us, even for my wife. It was affecting her as well. So, and one day, a new circuit overseer came to see us. Circuit, that's what I was looking for, the word. A new circuit overseer came to see us, and to boost us a little bit, to help us, and it was very nice. And we ended up wanting to do a little bit more and going back to the meetings and preaching and everything. But that was about the same time when we found a job in Scotland, and we moved. So that was in 2008. We moved to Scotland. We got to a nice little town, Greenock, not far from Glasgow. and we worked there and at IBM in Greenock. So the congregation there was actually very nice. Again, the atmosphere was very different from the one in France. It's mostly old people, very nice, very kind. And it's the kind of people let you live your life. They don't get involved in your lives, and it's not the kind of things. They're pretty cool. They're okay. And because we wanted to go back in the field service, we had to go through some kind of interview with the elders. And I remember, as it was yesterday, one of the questions was, do you still want to be associated with Jehovah's Witnesses or something like that? And in my head, I realized that, nah, not really. Except I said yes that day, but no, I knew that something had happened. And what happened is that all my doubts I had accumulated with time. The doubts, especially about doctrines, like the two classes system, the great crowd and the small flock, 607, a lot of things. Everything came back to me and came back up to the surface. And all the crap I had lived as well, with the elders and everything, all that came back to me at the same time. And that was the start of a period where I was like up and down in the truth. Sometimes I just wanted to go, I wanted to become a good witness and do everything I could, and I wanted to believe I was in the truth. But at other times I was feeling like really like crap, and I remember calling sick sometimes and just lying on the floor all day praying to God, asking him to show me if I was in the truth or not. And but at the time I wasn't ready to accept I wasn't in the truth. I had all the signs, everything was there before me. Maybe not everything, but all my experiences and my doubts were there, which weren't doubts anymore. I knew there were things that were wrong. And I remember sometimes going to the meetings and hiding in the toilets because I couldn't bear listening to the watchtowers or the talks anymore, and I couldn't do it anymore. And in 2010, my wife became pregnant with my daughter. And that allowed me to, take a step back, and I started missing meetings and breathing a little bit, And that's how I started actually, all my thoughts started to get clearer. It was still a bit, I was very confused before that, but now it was becoming clearer, And I stopped going to the meetings in 2011. At first it was very hard for my wife. I told her why I stopped. And it was very hard for her, I remember her crying many nights. It wasn't fun. And I'm aware I could have lost her at the time, But she was stronger than I was, I guess, and she stayed with me. And she kind of got over it after some time. In 2012, that was the first time I missed a memorial. I didn't go to a memorial. And what I did is I bought some bread, unleavened bread and wine, and I did my own little memorial at home. That was pretty cool. And that's when I believe I was born again. I know some of you won't like that, but that's a fact to me. And the following year, so I hadn't been to the meetings for 2 years already, and two elders came to invite me to the memorial. They had been calling me for a while. They wanted to meet with me, but every time I tried to avoid meeting them, I gave them some rubbish excuses. But at some point I didn't have a choice because they came to my house to invite us to the memorial. So they came in, they told us that there was the memorial a few weeks away and we would be invited, you know, they'd be happy to see us there. And I can't remember how it came about, but we started to talk about doubts, and it asked me if I had doubts. One of them asked me that. And actually, you might know him because that elder is in the BBC Panorama documentary, you know, about the pedophilia that happened in a congregation in Scotland, in Stevenston. When that was the elder that was sent by Bethel, an English brother. Well, I told him I wanted to talk to him in private, so they came in the hallway of our flat, and there was a letter there that I had written a long time ago, by disassociation letter. It was ready for a long time, but I just couldn't find the courage to give it. But that day, well, it was the one opportunity, you know, the opportunity to give it. So I gave it to them. I had no hate or anything. I wasn't angry or anything. I just gave it to them, explaining that I wasn't a witness anymore. So, and I didn't want to be one anymore. So I gave them the letter, and a month later it was announced at the Kingdom Hall. It took a month, I think, because of the memorial, I guess. But it was great, you know. It felt amazing. It felt amazing. I lost all my friends. I never really had friends, worldly friends. So I lost all my friends. I lost a part of my family at first. They stopped talking to me. Thankfully, after a while, they came back to their senses, and now we have pretty much normal relationships with my parents in particular. But you know, the first few months after you leave it's just like amazing. And I started relearning everything, every single thing in my life I had to relearn. Well, not every single thing, but almost. You see what I mean? My whole worldview has changed a bit before I actually officially left, but still, that moment was like freedom. I wanted to shout freedom, you know, Braveheart way. You know, I was in Scotland, so it was perfect place to do that. Freedom. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And yeah, so it's been 4 years now. And I'm much happier. I can't say if I'm happy. I've never been able to say I'm happy. I'm not sure I even know what that really means, but I'm 100% much happier than I was in the organization. So I didn't say a lot really in this video. I could go a lot further and give you a lot more details, but I don't think that's necessary. Plus I'm almost at 30 minutes already, so that would be a very long video. And I'm pretty sure you already have a headache because of my accent, so sorry about that. So today I'm trying to make videos for French speakers. I don't try to convert witnesses. I'm just trying to help ex-witnesses or faders, you know. I'm not even interested in trying to convert witnesses. If I get to meet them on the street or anything, I talk to them. And I'm happy, you know, to try and spread some seeds of truth, the truth about the truth. But, you know, I'm not actively trying to convert them. That's because I don't think that's really useful. I think it's a waste of time. I'm still spreading seeds of truth, though, and I'm hoping that it might work one day. Who knows? Especially with my family. My wife is still a witness, although she's been inactive for a few years, and she's very open-minded, much more than me actually. So I'm okay with that. You know, she doesn't need to actually leave the organization. She's happy, and I'm happy. So there you go. See you.